Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, in order to correct you simply, I was born in Vitoria because there are some people from Araba there. I was born in Vitoria, but I come from Arezabaleta. My mom went to Vitoria to give birth, and I was 3 days after in Arezabaleta, and then also I played in the Alaves, and I come from Gipuzkoa. I was born in Vitoria, and I played in the athletics, so I accept applause from every kind, from everywhere.
No sé dónde está la...
I don't know where the conference, where the lecture is. Yeah, here it is. Okay.
José Ángel Iríbar es...
José Ángel Iribar, he is my teacher. He's probably, well, I'm a goalkeeper because Iribar was a goalkeeper, and this is my reference. This is my reference in football. When I have to define somebody as a goalkeeper, I try to define him with the traits that Iribar was defined. If there's somebody concerned about women, above all women, because we are going to talk about football, don't worry, because we are not going to talk about football. We goalkeepers are not playing football. We're playing something else, something that is similar. It's not exactly football. We are going to use football in order to talk about those things. We are going to try to talk the 40 minutes, and at the end, if there are questions, if there are remarks that I haven't explained remarks about things I haven't explained properly, or things that are not clear enough, then you can ask me whatever you want to, but of course not about very updated football issues, because I'm somehow more narrow-minded and close for that. I have delivered many speeches, but in the last 5 years haven't delivered any, and this is my reappearance today. I come back to the lecture world. I have to stop doing this in the last 5 years when I have been working in the Barcelona Football Club, and I am in front of all of you in order to explain some things about my experiences. All the things I have experienced or I'm going to experience. I have attended some lectures today, and I think that all of them are very scientific. Everybody knows a lot. There's a lot of data, information, and I'm going to talk to you about my feelings and the things I have experienced from the point of view of football. We are going to start seeing a topic. Okay, the presentation has faded.
No sé qué pasó. Se ha ido... Espera. Esto suele pasar, ¿eh? Veamos. Sí, voy. Ya está.
We cannot listen properly. The sound comes totally distorted to our booth. I think he's saying something of avoiding the goal, to take out your hand, but very sorry not to be able to listen properly. He's talking about this ball that is coming into the goalkeeping area. And really, nil is the best result, but sometimes I wonder, what does it feel? What does it feel when you score a goal? What does it feel when you score? What's the end of this story? Can we say some brands? Can we mention some brands? We're talking about Coke. Coke, the story must end well. But what is a good end? Because on the other goalkeeping area, there's another goalkeeper. So another person who's also devoted to stop and to avoid that the opposing team scores. We goalkeepers are probably the biggest specialists of the teams, the biggest specialist of that player who's playing with the hands, dressed in another way. And generally, We do not have the need to have the ball in order to succeed. If you have got children or friends or people, or you have whatever you want to who are playing football, you know that everybody loves playing with ball. If you see a group of children playing in the schoolyard, everybody is behind the ball. Everybody wants to touch the ball. Everybody wants to play with it. And the goalkeeper is the one at the goalkeeping area waiting, getting bored sometimes, feeling the cold, thinking of his own things until the opposing player takes the ball. He goes to your goalkeeping area, and what we want is the goalkeeper to lose the problem as soon as possible and to solve this issue, to solve this affair. Even when the goalkeeper doesn't intervene in a very quick way, he's stopping. We want to push him among all of us in order for him to catch this ball. This goalkeeper doesn't move. Whenever we have got a problem, somebody should come, for instance, with a computer, somebody should come and solve it, touching something. We are people who live in this space of the goalkeeping area. We are very special people. Some people say that we are crazy. This is not completely true. Our space is defined by a line. Within the field there is a line that where it is said that we may not play with the hands. This line becomes a frontier for us, a boundary for us, and really defines our relationship with all of us. When somebody contributes with some information and comes to us to see something about the opposing team, we say, well, I am a goalkeeper, you are a player from this border outside. My game is another one, my situation is another one, and sometimes in the worst situations, we also, in our office, we set up our space in our classroom. This is my working space, and nobody can tell that because I am the one who knows about that. But this happens also on the other way around. Goalkeepers nowadays cannot be playing football just being goalkeepers and stopping the ball. They need to work in speed, to play with the ball, to attack also, to attack like everybody else, and also a player that when we are attacking can help us too. So the process of specialization, the absolute specialization, needs goalkeepers doing more things, intervene more in the game, and help us in more things. Not only just to score, that would be really the extreme event. This would be the most extreme event. Really, the goalkeeper would only score a goal in the very last minute. It's rather a miracle than a game. But he can also transfer the ball for us to do something else. So the image of Iribar is because he in the 70s was a pioneer goalkeeper, and he was somebody who was intervening in this attacking football when the concept of attack and goalkeeper was only from the point of view of defending the goalkeeping area. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't really be involved in such an issue that our position in the football field makes us a very crazy character. I say that when the players get off the bus, all of them are wearing their sport tracks and they are all the same, and the goalkeeper has got a different T-shirt, but the goalkeepers always wear something that makes them different from the other. For instance, the sleeves up or the neck or their headsets. So they are really defining their own individuality and territory. And then we are going to leave also the match in their hands. They have got a very special characteristic. Generally, they do not win the matches. Who wins the matches? The people who are scoring. So what do the goalkeepers do? They lose the matches. This is not true, obviously, because if the score is 1-0, it's because the goalkeeper has really maintained this nil result. But it is true that it is a player that, as he doesn't need the ball, he has got a view regarding the game, the collective game, which is very different. When a goalkeeper says that from my position, I have got a feeling that we are attacking much too much on the right and not on the left, or on this side and not this other side, and the corners are being thrown. He hasn't got any interest at all. It's the same for me. They are attacking on the right or on the left. What I want is my team to win. I don't mind whether the forwarders are going up there or down there. Am I going to be the one that is scoring? No. Am I going to be the one that I'm going to be hugged and embraced by 2,000 people because I have scored in the final of the Champions? No, my victory is the victory of the team. So my view and the contribution is from a position that is totally neutral, and the rest of the team has got a view depending on where they are moving. My situation in the game is going to influence whether I receive more or less balls. Goalkeepers are related to talent. Talent is one of these elements that within the football and within sport, and I guess that you are going to talk about talent, how talent gets developed, the talent of children. Okay, talent is this capacity that a person can have to solve difficulties, to solve the difficulties the football is offering, creating innovative solutions, different solutions. Pep Guardiola used to say, well, he's a very good analyst of the football. He could spend days the whole day watching the matches of the opposing team, and he was proposing different ways of playing to his players against certain teams. If you are placed here, you can, all these kind of strategical, technical things of the football. Pep used to say, these assholes, they go to the field and they always find a better solution than mine. I always propose a solution, but they always find something I have never seen. And I have had the time, I have stopped, I have observed, I have seen the video 1,000 times, I have come back the next day, I have shown it to my team in order for them to give me their remarks. They have got the capacity to find the solutions that the rest of us do not see. You have been working with players such as Leo Messi, who can make up in every match things that are absolutely new. He has got the capacity to manage that talent, but that talent is a talent given by the individual game. Some characteristics of the talent that I could mention. I think that talent needs trust. All talents need trust, not only the talents that are starting, that are popping out, but the ones that are consolidated, because there are also bad days and situations where they fail, matches that do not turn out to be as well as they expected that. Many situations like that happen, like those happen, and this is a basic element. So the element of trust is an element that is going to appear again and again in my speech. And really the only element a goalkeeper is working with is trust. Our goalkeeper should have this capacity to make our team never to play looking at behind, looking backwards. Our supporters should have the feeling that we are in good hands. And the supporters should think, well, the others are not going to score. We cannot lose. We can be a draw at the end, but that's it. Talent needs some space. If we are recruiting a goalkeeper and we are placing him in the position of a forward, if talent is able to develop more skills and capacities, and we are going to offer a space where they can really develop more solutions, it's going to be a developing talent, a collective one, which is really summing in order to is going to add more solutions. So this would be a topic to talk about, how many solutions can be offered. And talent needs also freedom. If we are recruiting, I don't know, a very big player for the Athletic for the next season, I don't know, as we are talking about this hypothetical, if we are recruiting Neymar, this is something impossible, of course. So we'll have to give him the space for him to play. We'll have to give him the freedom to develop it. We'll have to know that he's going to get wrong sometime, of course, and he's going to choose the wrong option, of course. Of course, he needs that freedom to be able to play, which is the bad news of freedom, that not all the players have got the same freedom. Not all the talents in the field are given or supply the same freedom. If you are goalkeeper, the capacity, the creative capacity in the solution is very much reduced, because we do not want risks. We are looking for trust, safety. We don't want a goalkeeper to make up something strange and that we receive a score and the freedom is lesser. So we are playing more within the script, the usual script. And when we go to other parts of the fields, it's possible that we can give you a bigger space depending on the features of the characteristics, depending on the kind of talent. If I am a player who's balancing the team, this is my space, this is my freedom. The creative freedom is the one other players have. And this addition of different talents of different ways is going to contribute to this collective talent, what Michael Jordan is mentioning. So the capacity of adding not 1 + 1 are 11, but 1 + 1 more than 11. If we are able to pose to the others problems that he or they cannot solve, because our players have to find also weak point, situations of difficulty in the opposing team, and talent must also have the capacity, what could I say, of overcoming frustration. In the world of sport, it's a world extremely hard and demanding. At the end, it's like a kind of jumping test where the height is higher and higher. So you must be able to overcome that, not always, because sometimes you want that, to overcome that frustration, that disappointment, to be able to analyze where circumstances are. José Ángel Iribar, who was really my mentor, used to tell me when I was 19, 20, when I started in the last century in the athletic club in the last millennium. It's true. Regarding the data you have mentioned before, allows to discover certain things. The other day, Diego Alves, the goalkeeper of Palencia, he stopped a penalty in the last match, I think, and suddenly there was a legend. There was a saying in this broadcasting, and said that he was obtaining the same record of the record was from Zubizarreta, and Zubizarreta record and penalties are some words that did not enter in the same sentence. But of course, I had played more than 600 matches and he had played 150. So it was a question, an issue of coefficient. And to resist also give you some advantages. The capacity, the skill of the talent, of analyzing the mistake, of looking for where the mistake is. Angel used to tell me about we can never improve with excuses. We can only improve with the problems. For instance, excuses are the rain, the heat, the cold. You have heard these excuses. The football players make those excuses very often. Those are just excuses. And now let's see how can we transform those in problems. And for these problems, we are going to be able, in the daily training, of improving issues that are going to help us to become better goalkeepers in order to reduce the level of mistake, not the level of excuse, because human beings are very able for this creativity. A very fundamental tool in order to manage communication, to manage talent is communication. You have had a lot of experts today that must have explained to you what communication is. For me, communication is a constant thing, something constant in a work team. I do not believe in those formal communications, in communication that is established or set up because we have got a meeting every Monday in this management committee. Well, perhaps, of course, these formal meetings allows us to give a structure, to share, and so on. But if we do not support that with a direct, informal, close communication project, I think we are going to be very restricted in this process, even more in a world where communication is really an absolute hectic. In the world of football, the level of the amount of information generated every half an hour is really huge through Twitter, Facebook, websites, through everything, by means of everything. And in the whole world, the capacity you can have to find at 12 o'clock when you are sitting in your office in a very relaxing day, and to have a fire of huge dimensions is really very important. If you do not have the capacity to adapt your communication to those processes, you will always be lost. You will always be you are always going to be overwhelmed. So communication are not words. Communication are facts, We learned that the important thing of a trainer is not when he enters in the cloakroom and says, I'm going to deal with all of you in the same way, because football players, they sit and they wait until the first week and the second week, the third week of the season has gone by. And when they see that the trainer really treats everybody in the same way, they say, okay, they treat everybody in the same way, but three that are being treated very badly and three that are being treated very well. Facts are the ones that are going to show all those things that we communicate. We say we are going to play attacking. Many trainers say that my team plays attacking, and then you sit and you say, well, if you are attacking, you have got 9 players behind the middle line of the field. I think it's difficult, but anyway, it can be another concept. So facts are going to say, well, communication is going to be a reality. Today is very difficult to manage this communication in the football field exactly, and I think that in every area, the amount of information, the amount of emails, the amount of press papers, the WhatsApp, there are some moments where when there's a collapse, because we have got so many things that you cannot make out what is really important, what is really urgent, what are really the things you have to answer to, and the things that you can say, okay, tomorrow I'll deal with that, because today I have got many other things to deal with. Regarding communication, we have talked about the capacity to listen, and as probably many people have talked about that, I'm not going to talk about that, because I think this is something obvious, the capacity of listening to. It's very difficult for me. So the capacity of being concentrating on what the other is saying in order to perceive exactly what the other is asking from me is it's a skill, it's a capacity that can be developed, but I think sometimes it's very difficult because the speaking partner is not telling us clearly what he or she wants to. And he is trying to mean that. For me, it's very important, the capacity of asking. How often have we left a meeting having the feeling that I had a question to post and I haven't posted? When we come back home, we have already solved that. Because, okay, I haven't asked because I knew what this person was going to answer. So you come back home with a solution. The solution is already in your head. Have you asked him? No. What for? He or she was going to tell me. But have you asked him? No. It's not worth the while. Okay, but have you asked that? To ask is a risk. To listen is a capacity. To ask is always to get exposed. To ask is always to say that this is something that is also worrying me. The capacity of asking and knowing how to ask is one of the very biggest skills that the process of communication has got in. Is one of the things that opens up more conversations, more capacities for creating new ideas. We have got talents, we have got a group, we have got a team, specialists, goalkeepers. We have got strange people dressed in the wrong way. And now we need a plan. What do we do all together? Football is a very simple activity. It's nothing complex at all. Football in the end is our goalkeeper has got the ball. We have to take this ball to the opposite goalkeeping area to put it into it. And nobody is going to tell us how to do it. Upwards, downwards, kicking it, transferring it. They have told us that we cannot touch it with the hands. Pushing the opposing players looks very ugly, but from that moment onwards, the decision is yours. If a team had a football player who would be kicking from his area, they would be authorized to do this. There are no good or bad systems. There can be systems that are more entertaining, more enjoyable, more amusing. I have had more fun with this match and so on. But everything is legitimized, and you with your players, with your people, with your team, you are going to pose what your idea is from that point of view. How do you want to solve that issue? I admit that I like all these things that have got to do a little bit with the utopia of the logo. When Javier Clemente was appointed trainer of the athletic club in 1981, in the first press conference, he said, "We are going to be league champions." The doubt was whether that was the typical sentence of somebody from Bilbao or something serious. And we were the champions, so that was a challenge. So guys, we are not playing just for the sake of playing. We are playing to become champions of the league, or proposals as the one of Pep Guardiola in order to solve how we are going to play in a different way, with a different style, with a different idea, in order to find or to meet the final goal, the one that Luis Enrique may have at the moment, in order how to comply, to satisfy a challenge, the challenge of playing with a team that is used to winning everything and to keep on winning everything. So these challenges that have got to do with the UTP are the ones that I like. These make us go forward. Sometimes the goals are unreal. For instance, Eduardo Galeano, probably you have heard about that. He said that the horizon, if you go 10 steps forward, horizon is farther from you. And then Utopia said to him that Utopia is good for nothing. And then he said Utopia is good for walking, because these steps that we make us go forward. And I do agree with him almost in everything, but in one thing. He said that in life you could change everything: a wife, nationality, car. You can change everything, but football team. I'm very sorry, but my vital experience says that being a fan or supporter of the Athletic, you can suffer for the Barça. You can also be in favor of the Valencia, and to celebrate that Zabaleta is again in the third league.
But life is much more complex, but that is not the debate. And that implies that we should be talking about football. But utopia is good. It's something that makes us walk and move forward. You know, I'm very realistic. I have my feet on the ground, and that is why I need people who are able to go beyond and to have challenges and to identify challenges beyond the stars. Why not? Because football is a game, a sport, something that is there for us to have fun. I don't know if Luis Aragon is there. Was he enjoying himself? Was he suffering? What do you think? Those players down there grabbing him by the feet, you know, they are thinking, oh, Grandpa is going to fall. And I think that sentence is very good there. And I like very much when he says that, you know, I grabbed a selection, a team, a selection, and I am going to create a team. When he said that, he was already old. It is true that in life there are many attempts. Sometimes we succeed and sometimes we fail, but that is how life goes. But that is something very important. Those 11 or 22 players we have, they should feel like a team. How to make that possible? How to make it possible? Then we need to have a goal, an objective. We need to know how we want to play. But then on the daily basis, how does it work? How does it make it happen? How can we create a team, a good atmosphere among players? Well, I think that each of us, we want to be protagonists. One day, Fernando Alonso was saying, well, you know, he was the driver, he was driving the car, but when you need to change the tire, at that point, the man changing the tire is essential. But if that person arrived home and if he said to his husband, to his wife, saying, hey, listen, I am the most important person in McLaren. They all depend upon me because I am the guy who changes the tires. But it is true that at that point, he is very important. It depends upon the situation. We don't know when one or the other are going to be more or less important. One person who is very important is Paco Seguirulo in the Barça. He is the physical trainer. He's a wise person. He knows everything about football, and he says that football is an stochastic process. An stochastic process? Okay, that's it, and now I'm leaving, and there I leave you with this statement. What is a stochastic process? We're talking about something that depends upon fate. Nacho, this morning, when he was talking about games and all that, he would be able to explain it much better. But football, at the end of the day, depends upon many, many different elements and random processes. If we talk about chess, we move one piece at a time. But in football, we have 22 guys running together, and there is a ball in between. And then there is a coach, the referee with his whistle. Millions, billions, trillions of things can happen. Is it worthwhile to be in there and to start and try, devise a plan? If you know so many things can happen, yes, it is worthwhile to be there, to try and define how am I going to be successful in my game. Of course, knowing that maybe the goalkeeper is going to make a mistake, and that's it, and they have made a goal. Yes, why not? That is an element in football, but in life too. So, identity and cohesion. We usually have a temptation. We tend to try and imitate the players that we admire or that we love. Right now, at the Barcelona, we don't know who is going to be replacing Chano because he has gone to Qatar, Xavi. And we all are trying to identify somebody to replace Xavi, someone with a specific height, who moves well, who plays well, and at the end, what do we have? Xavi. We keep on talking about Xavi, but Xavi has not a twin brother or a little brother who is 10 years younger than himself. So we need to try and find someone identified with that way of playing, but who will have his own personality. And we will need to understand that that difference, that diversity, is going to be there as soon as someone is going to be playing with that T-shirt with the number 6, he will be playing differently. It's going to be different. It is true that we were used to seeing Xavi doing this or that, but the person coming later is going to do things in a different way. And for some people, it will be hard. So we need to give these people trust. This person will need to be able to generate his own solutions. Let's play a game. Maybe some of you already know the game. If you already know it, please remain silent and let's preserve confidentiality. Okay, capacity to concentrate on things. Very often, football players need to be concentrated, focused, because there is going to be lots of noise. No, you need to be focused in your match. You need to be focused there where you are. Play your game. Very often we say the same thing to our children, right? They are studying and at the same time they are listening to music. Okay, we need to be focused. So in this game we are going to be watching the black team, the white team, and now you will have to tell me how many times the players are using their hands. We have 5 players in each team, how many times they use their hands. And after, we'll keep on talking.
A la izquierda, negros a la derecha.
The answer is 30.
Oops. You had the result. Okay, let's play it again. Okay, I give you a second chance.
The answer is 13.
¿Sí?
Are you sure? Do you agree? Did you see that person here? Pay attention. Did you all see him? Didn't you? He was there. Talent was there. What we were looking for was there. There was something weird or whatever, but it was there. First time I watched it, I was mad and I said, "Oh, come on, you are fooling me. There is a trick there." And I watched it once and again. Sometimes it happens to us when we are looking for someone to replace Xavi. Everything around us, we don't see it. We are so much focused there that, we don't see what is happening around. And we could swear that, that thing that happened, that it did not happen. If we hadn't played it once or twice, we would have left and we would have said, "I didn't understand anything, So that is what happens very often. We are very much focused. We are so much convinced about what identifies ourselves, what makes us different, that there are, many, many bears or characters such as that one in life that go unnoticed. If you want to go to the internet, to the net, you will be able to see all those different situations. And in football, very often, that's what happens. We are thinking so much at ourselves, what we are, what we have become, what our profile is, that sometimes it is true that you need to take a step back, because if not, you are not able to see things, because if not, we will tend to look for situations that are just identical. And there we say, what we have lived or experimented together has been crazy. Yes, and the key word here is together. What we have experienced together. That is great. Xavi and Iniesta, have you noticed that sometimes they exchange, in the selection, they exchange the numbers in their T-shirts when they are playing for Barca or for the Spanish selection. But the key word here is together. Of course, we need talent, we need individual skills when we talk about Messi, Iniesta, or anybody else, but we need all that, of course, and then we need to be able to put that into practice together. So this is almost the end. Can we play football here? Well, yes, you can play football here in Zabaleta. In my home village, I used to play in a field which wasn't that different. Maybe yes, but it is true that if we had Xavi here and if he had to explain us how to play there, I think that Xavi is an expert at playing on grass. He knows everything about the thickness, the hardness it has to be or not. He has always had problems in his legs, and he would go to the champions, feel the ground, and we would say, "So, what do you say? Too hard." And there wasn't anything else to say because he was the expert. requirements. Yes, we need to be very demanding, we ourselves. I can ask people to make goals, yes, because that is important if we want to be successful. But I have to be very demanding with myself. I am the goalkeeper. I need to be demanding. And we have to start being demanding in our daily individual work. It is true that there are going to be challenges, situations, or things to analyze. The coach may say, let's analyze our last 10 games because I think that you are making a mistake here or there. But we shouldn't be speaking in those terms, talking about mistakes. Maybe the coach should say, what do you think if we do this to improve? Yes, Luis Aragonés spoke about the invisible training that is linked to how much we rest, how much we sleep, what we eat, etc. Our capacity to spend energy well and not to waste energy. Of course, that doesn't mean that I have to be lying on the couch all day long because I don't want to waste my energy. Of course not. But we need to be reasonable. It is true that you need to rest and that you need to eat well and that you need to train. You are a player and maybe we can end up having a lesion, an injury in the knee, and that is why we need to train and we need to strengthen our knees. All that is very important, and sometimes that is not sin, but that is essential. So we need to be very demanding with ourselves. And this is a whole process. This is something that we share with the whole team, with all the players. It is true that when the most singular players in a team, when they come into this dynamic, then at that point, the development of the team is much, much easier. We all know people in our organizations who are the leaders or the reference. Wherever we are, if we are speaking about learning a language or whatever, we always have stars or references that we follow. The thing is that that level has to be applied to everybody and not only to players. Here we have to be demanding with coaches, with doctors, physicians, everybody, all the whole staff. We need to be demanding. They all have to be demanding. We need to be the best. And I don't like to talk about succeeding, but it is true that if we are all demanding, we will be able to compete at the highest level. And it is true that each of us, at a certain point, maybe we think, well, maybe I can arrive a little bit later to this training session because I know how to self-regulate myself. But again, I insist on how important it is to be very demanding. That is essential. That very high standard has to be there all the time. And to finish, I would like to share with you two last ideas. There is a book, the name of which is Martes con mi viejo profesor, my old professor. Well, this person used to visit his former teacher, and he said, have we spoken about the stress of the opponent? The stress of the opponent, life is, in life we go forward and backward. Sometimes you want to do something, but you end up doing something else. Sometimes you take things for granted, even if you know that you shouldn't be taking things for granted. That, yes, stress is there all the time. Most of us live in the middle, trying to manage that stress. Is it like wrestling? Wrestling? And he laughs. Yes, life can be defined like that, like wrestling. And who is going to win? Who is going to win in this wrestling match? Affection. Affection always wins. In life, even if we talk about joint leadership or if we talk about challenges, generally in life, we are in an average position, in the middle. In this book by Mitch Albom, I would like to add something. Yes, affection, but generosity too. Those are two key words. Generosity when we are successful, when we fail, when there are problems, when we want to share things with others, to share success with others. Yes, we need to be generous. Affection is important, but generosity too. And last, to go back to sport, we go back to Michael Jordan. He says, I have failed more than 9,000 times in my career, have lost more than 300 games. You know, very often people trusted me, but I have failed once and over again. And that is why I am successful. Failing, yes, we fail some days. You are not good. You are eliminated out of the Champion League, or you can do just as I did. I scored a goal myself in my own goal or goalkeeping area. There was a problem there, and I made a mistake. Of course not. All that exists. We all make mistakes. And we have to be able to overcome problems that should not be generating us fear in ourselves. We should not be afraid in our daily life. Pere Casaldaliga used to say that the enemy of faith is not doubt, but fear. If we have doubts, we will start wondering about things, but fear can paralyze us. If you are afraid, you cannot live. You cannot live together with people. If you have a tendency, Michael Jordan also said that I forgive a mistake, but I will never forgive a player for not daring. We need to dare. And now, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate.
¿Alguien que tienes?
Es directo y es bueno.
Me había parecido que el señor de verde... No. ¿Hay alguien que...
Are there any questions? If not, we can go.
Vale, muy bien. Es que ricasco por la sesión.
Thank you very much. I have a question. You spoke a little bit about it, and I would like you to elaborate something. You said that sometimes when the leader asks us to do something, that he speaks, in such a way that it is not direct, and maybe we don't understand and we don't ask enough to clarify things. So here comes my question. If we're talking about lack of communication, I don't know, do you think that maybe sometimes this is linked to the lack of clarity from the person who is asking you to do something? Well, we tend to say that the leaders are going to be asking clear questions, right? Well, not always. Not always. What I meant is that when we talk about communication, something essential is our capacity to listen. But I also claim the capacity to be able to wonder, to ask. When you have a doubt, when somebody explains something and you have not understood, or if you don't agree, at that point you should be able to ask. For me, it is just as important as listening. It is not just a question of asking questions so that the other person sees that you are putting that into question. No, I am just talking here to clarifying things. Do we have the budget to do this or that? Or how are we going to solve it? Or, for instance, but the people who were researching, have they been informed? Or have you said who is going to be integrating the team? those questions. So why not? We need to ask to make things clear. That is what I meant. I didn't. Well, yes, that is why I said to you that when you are asking, you are already exposing which are your concerns or your doubts. And sometimes some of you are lucky enough not to have been in the army, but in the army sometimes here, people used to say that we shouldn't be asking questions. And very often we go to a meeting, we come out, and then we go to the coffee machine, and then we say, did you understand what he said? What do you understand by that? That is what I meant, that we have to be willing and we have to be able to ask if things were not clear, because that is the only way to improve the information we have. A very simple question, even if I think it's quite deep too. What is the professional failure you have had which has been more important with you to become better? In my team in Zabaleta, when I was a child, I was playing with children, and at that point I understood that being a goalkeeper is a risky thing because, the day after I had a fever and I was beaten. We were severely beaten, 10-0. When you see that you are at the limit, on the verge, that you cannot go any further, when you are a player and when you are on the field, in the Champions League or whatever, or the regional level, there is a certain moment in which you say, am I going to be able to make it? Will I be successful? Will I fail? The opponents are very good. One day, Mitchell said, we were playing against Germany, and he said, they are even handsome, those German players. So at that point, you realize about which are your limits. And this has nothing to do with the fact of having a good day or a bad day, or if the referee made a mistake. That day when you say, this is what I want to do, and I have been beaten as severely as that. But sometimes you just need to come out of that situation. But, in those situations when you are beaten as badly as that, because again, this refers to fears, to things that withhold you somehow, that prevent you from leaving your comfort area, but that comfort area shrinks more and more. Certain goalkeepers, they have a very big area, and they reduce that influence area. It shrinks more and more, and when you see yourself, when you see that influence area is shrinking, that is not directly linked to the result of a match or not. I can tell you that in the penalties in 1996, we were playing against Wembley in England. I can still feel the wind, how I almost touched the ball. Was that a failure? Well, I didn't succeed, it is true. But I still remember how cold it was, those 10 goals. I had to come from Escoriaza. I had to go to my village. I went there, I did that on foot, and the day after I had a flu. And I think I have now overcome that, but maybe there is a shrink here, a psychologist here, maybe he will say that, I am still traumatized by that defeat when I was a kid. Thank you very much.